Well, the Rays take 2 of 3 versus the Kansas City Royals, so hopefully some good vibes going into a challenging series against the Texas Rangers.
There will be more good vibes than games between the Rays and the Orioles in the standings, so let's breathe and talk about that right now.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we are the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your very first to listen every day. Be sure to check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays. You can also email us anytime with a mailbag question, hot take, comment, concern, whatever it may be, lockedonrays@gmail.com. We've gotten some great mailbag questions thus far, and we appreciate you reaching out to us. This episode of Locked On Rays is brought to you by eBay Motors. A championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same goes with your vehicle. So for parts that fit, head over to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Well, it is a Monday after a lengthy all-star break. We're back in the saddle. The Rays are back in the saddle. They take 2 of 3 from the Kansas City Royals. Unfortunately, they got dosed up a little bit on Sunday. Aside from that, Ulises, what are your takeaways and observations from the series that was?
Well, I had a couple. Number one, as you can see on the breakdown on the right, Kevin Cash hits 700 wins. I think that's pretty cool.
Yes.
He did that on Saturday with the doubleheader. Do you know how many wins away he is from catching the legendary Joe Maddon?
I want to say ballpark, Joe Maddon had like 760-something wins. So I'm going to say he's, 70 away from surpassing him. Not
bad. Not bad at all. He's 55.
Okay.
55 away from taking that mantle. It'll be tough because obviously Joe did so much for the franchise, and Kevin has too. But it's always tough to see those records being broken. But it is going to be, and he might put up. Kevin Cash is under contract for the next few years. People, I know some people on anti-social media ask for his head after every loss. But he's going to be there for a long time, and he might. Do you think he'll get to 1,000 wins, Kevin?
1,000 wins in a Rays uniform, or 1,000 wins overall
with the Rays?
So he is under contract through 2024. I would imagine him being. It would have to take a very lucrative offer for him to be pulled away from the Rays, given his history of growing up in the Tampa Bay area and settling roots and having kids and all that goes into that. So he would probably have to have a gargantuan contract offer from another team, which certainly is within the cards. So I will say yes. I want to see Kevin Cash in a new Rays ballpark, and by the time that comes to fruition, I would think that he'd be very close to 1,000 dubs. So yes, I will say he does get that achievement in a Rays uniform.
That's exactly how I'm thinking. I think he's going to get that extension with how he has performed. If you look back at all of the seasons that he's been a manager, 2 seasons he was basically 500. It was an 80 and 82 record in 2015 and in 2017. Yeah, then the 2016 awful Devil Rays type of season, awful 2016. And then after that, it's been 90-win teams, man. It's been that really fun 2018 team that felt like a college baseball team. 2019, get to the ALDS Game 5 against the Houston Astros. 2020, go to the World Series. Blake Snell Game 6. Let's not talk about it. 2021, 100 games won that season. 2022, 86 wins, you barely get to the wild card, but hey, you managed a team that had so many injuries, and now here you are on July 17th with the best record in the American League with 60 wins, the first team to get to 60 wins in the American League. So I do think he's going to get extended, and for that new stadium, which will be in 2028, hopefully, which means he will have ample time to get to 1,000 wins.
Yeah, and again, I mean, not to go on Kevin Cash love or hype train, but not an easy job for any manager to replace a guy who had achieved so much before him in Joe Maddon. And it was Kevin Cash's first managerial gig, so he was learning on the fly. Now, it certainly helps being in a successful, stable organization with good leadership at the top, starting with ownership down through the front office and having that support nest, if you will. But a first-time manager having to deal with a low payroll, young players, roster turnover, the COVID-19 pandemic. When did Evan Longoria get traded? What year was that?
After the 2017 season.
So you're the manager, you're a young manager as the franchise cornerstone gets traded as well. You have the ongoing Montreal, Tampa Bay split season stadium controversy, just so many distractions that have to be handled and navigated with aplomb. And I think Kevin Cash does a really, really good job, whether you agree or disagree with some of the on the field decisions that he makes. I think he brings so much value in what he does off the field and being a clubhouse manager and handling personalities and knowing which buttons to tweak and tick and go forth. So and every year he's pretty much regarded as, he's one of the top 3 to top 5 managers in all of baseball. And you don't have to look too far and see the coaching tree extending beyond Kevin Cash. How many other guys on his coaching staff get opportunities, get interviews, get jobs, get chances to be managers in their own right? So I think that speaks very, very highly for Kevin Cash, plus the bonus of being a hometown kid as well.
Yeah, no, I think that last point you made with how the branches from the Rays just keep growing to other MLB front offices and also into the dugout. Both you can see how they're kind of expanding towards the other 29 franchises. So which is pretty cool.
And I mean, look, all teams have injuries, but the Rays in recent years have had an astounding number of injuries, offensively, positionally speaking, and pitching staff speaking. I mean, the amount of, there's been stats before of the amount of WAR lost due to injuries is historic compared to other teams. Plus, an ever-challenging AL East. Again, this isn't the NL Central that he's having to manage through. Now you have up-and-comers like the Blue Jays and the Orioles, plus the established Red Sox and the Yankees that you have to contend with. Not an easy thing to do by any means. So kudos to Kevin Cash on number 700. Hopefully he gets to 750 by year's end. That would be nice.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right, we have more to discuss, but first we have to tell you something very important, and that is Sleeper. Do you think that a guy like, Randy Arozarena or Jose Siri can hit a home run tonight against Dane Dunning? Well, we sure do. And on Sleeper, you can swing for the fences with up to 100 times payouts. All you have to do is choose 2 or more players that you like and select more or less on their stat categories like home runs, strikeouts, hits, and more. So get your picks right, and you could win big. So use promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. Check out Sleeper today. So it is a little bit late to be discussing this, but I did want to mention it. It did happen over the All-Star break, which I think is a very savvy move by Major League Baseball to put the MLB Draft in the limelight of All-Star Weekend, if you will, and make it an event. We've been talking about that for years of, hey, you've got to you've got to spice it up a little bit in comparison to the NBA draft, the NHL draft, and the NFL draft. And it's never probably going to reach the pantheon of those other events just based on player gets drafted. And it usually takes 2, 3, 4, 5 years for them to get an opportunity in the big leagues. And not many people watch college baseball, so they don't have the familiarity of somebody who's watching college basketball or college football or whatever it may be. But I thought it was an interesting draft for the Rays, going very pitching heavy, 14 arms. They selected only position players in the first 4 rounds of the draft, and then the Rays front office went, we need some guys that can throw hard and throw different things as well. And if you notice, a lot of these arms, and really a lot of the draft in general, college players, college heavy. So I think that they're looking for a lot of these guys to make impacts sooner than later. Not only college heavy, but SEC level. These are some guys from big name schools, be it Mississippi State, LSU, Texas A&M, Missouri, Arizona State. Arizona State's not in the SEC, but just high profile schools in that respect. But I think we're starting to see a little bit of shift in terms of the Rays maybe going more college heavy, at least on the arm side, knowing that they need help sooner rather than later. And with fewer minor league stops, they want these guys up and productive when they can. So just want to throw that out there. And I do want to mention this. I really like the kid that they took 19th overall, Braden Taylor, the shortstop out of TCU. I'm going to be honest. I'd never heard of Braden Taylor. I'd never watched a lick of TCU baseball, but just reading up on him being that school's all-time home run king, and him being from Utah and being the highest drafted player from that school, the only first-round pick from that school. It gives me a little bit of Kyle Manzardo vibes of this guy has a chip on his shoulder. He has some motivation. He wants to rep where he's coming from, being overlooked or not quite focused on being a kid from Utah as opposed to California, Florida, Arizona, Texas, wherever it may be, and TCU as opposed to being from Texas A&M or Texas or wherever it is, and very refined hitter in that respect, and up the middle, which the Rays love as well. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And if we look at the Rays and their top prospects right now, just according to MLB.com, I think 7 of their top 11 prospects were drafted in either 2021 or 2022, and many of those from college. So again, they're looking. I wouldn't be surprised if Braden Taylor is making his big league debut in late 2024 or 2025, because they're ready to move these guys up and on.
Yeah, I agree with the chip on the shoulder thing. When you come from a place that nobody really talks about, you kind of take that as a flag and run with it. So good for Braden Taylor to be the first guy. It's always nice to be a pioneer, right? So good for him. Glad that he's getting that shot. Now, I will go on the macro picture here.
Okay.
I love the way that they organize the draft. And by that, I mean the majority arms. I love that. But focus first on position players. We know that you can turn gold anywhere if you're the Rays pitching development coaches. Like, you know that. So don't, quote unquote, waste those early picks to get good bats, good college bats that can help you quick. That has always been the thing with the Rays, the offense. Can you get some bats that can help the major league team? We have some coming up, hopefully, that can help, Jonathan Aranda, Kyle Manzardo, Curtis Mead, and Junior Caminero. But historically speaking, the Rays offense has not been what people lick their chops at. So I like that. Focus first on the bats, just like they did last year with Xavier Isaac, who, by the way, is killing it from what I've seen on Twitter. So they're first on bats, then get them the mass volume in pitching. I really do like that, the way that they've set that up. And hopefully, like you said, though, the fact that they're in college, that will see early returns for the Rays, because you know, like you said earlier, it's not basketball, it's not football that you draft a guy and then in the next summer they're doing something for you. It usually takes a good 3 to 5 years to see them in the system, but if you can just shorten that window, it would be beneficial.
Yeah, and I think they also take flyers on guys who you look at their numbers, it's like, wow, how did this guy get drafted? But obviously they see something in their profile that they can change or alter and make them a productive minor league player, have some sort of angle for them to be a specialized lefty or righty, whatever it may be. And again, I like the idea of, as you mentioned, they went with Braden Taylor, then Adrian Santana, Colton Ledbetter, Trey Morgan, Hunter Haas. Those were their first 5 picks, and those were position players. And then they went into the pitching angle. And I like how they go into the pitching angle, you know, beginning with round 5, because I would just think, naturally speaking, if you're drafting a pitcher first, second, third round, a college pitcher, usually they've already had a lot of bullets under them. They're being utilized a lot, like a Paul Skeens, like, hey, buddy, go out and throw us 8 innings every start and throw your heater all the time. Give us 90. And, you know, by the time they get their first taste of big league ball, I mean, they're all right, let's take you down the line to get Tommy John surgery. So maybe some of these guys were underutilized or underappreciated, or there's something that the Rays can fine tune and alter with them. So I think that's cool. Now we may have some more in-depth draft discussion depending on if we land a guest or not, but just wanted to mention that again, I like when the Rays draft or select a guy that has a chip on his shoulder, like a Kyle Manzarda does, and you're basically playing for the whole state, the whole college, where you're from, and all that as well. And if you're a fine player, that's even more of a bonus. All right. Before we wrap up here, the Rays are facing the Texas Rangers, a team that had many representatives in the All-Star game. We saw them on Tuesday last week, and the Rangers came out of the All-Star break hot, sweeping the Cleveland Guardians. So this will not be an easy test for your Tampa Bay Rays, going from Kansas City to now Arlington, Texas, and you're facing a Rangers team that they've brought their A squad as far as the rotation goes. Dane Dunning, Nate Eovaldi, and John Gray.
Not easy at all, but yeah. So they'll play tonight at 8 Eastern. The AL East is down to 1. You can catch every pitch of the Rays hometown broadcast with Sirius XM on the SXM app by searching Rays. I'm with you. This series is going to be really, really tough. Not only is the starting pitching matchups going to be very close in talent, but their offense has been incredible. I mean, they got a guy that if he were healthy, he could, he could run second in AL MVP in Corey Seager. He just wasn't healthy in the first half of the season completely, so he doesn't have the at-bats that other guys have, but his numbers are ridiculous. I mean, I think he still has a 1 dot for an OPS.
Yes.
And we saw, Marcus Semien and Josh Young, they have a really, really good team. I said this earlier during the year, and this because we've talked baseball for over a decade now. I don't care about standings until like late August. I really don't. And why? Because as a Rays fan, after you witness the 2011 season, you understand that anything can happen. You can be down 9 games on September 1st, and that can be turned around. So as a Rays fan that lived through that, I already know standings do not matter until late in the season. And when I said that, Kevin, earlier in the year, boy, did I get some DMs hot, just hot.
Oh,
You are wrong. You are ridiculous. How can you say that? Standings matter since day one. All right. I was on the camp always that nice that they're on first, that they're first in the AL East, but it's very, very difficult for a team to go from game 1 to game 162 in first place. It is very, very difficult. Some Rays fans cannot understand that. They want that to happen. But it's a different thing to want something to happen than to be realistic. And you have to be realistic. The Rays are not going to go pole to pole. So do I want that to happen? Of course I do. But mathematically speaking, statistically speaking, it's going to be very difficult. So there are going to be ups and downs. And we're right now at a downturn in the season where the Rays have been playing kind of 500 for the last month or so.
Right.
And so when you have a team behind you that has won, 8 games in a row?
8 games in a row. And not only the team behind you, but the team behind them, the team behind them, and the team behind them.
So,
every team in the AL East has at least 50 wins. Not another league, not another division can say that.
No, not at all. It's the toughest division. So these Rays fans that want the Rays to go from game 1 to 162 in first place, it is kind of ridiculous to want that, knowing that you're in the most difficult decision. You're in the NL Central. Have that. Go at it and have your wants, of course, and do that. You're in the AL Central. Yeah, go for it, buddy. Yeah, game 1 to 162, but you're in the AL East. You can't do that. And now you face the Texas Rangers, who have probably the best offense in the American League. And then you have a 4-game series against the Baltimore Orioles. Now, that one is the most critical series of the year for the Rays.
I agree. Yes, the Rangers, for what it's worth, they're second in all of baseball in OPS behind, you guessed it, the Atlanta Braves of the National League. The Rays are actually third in team OPS, but it will not be an easy series by any means. Now, I should note that Tampa Bay, if we're just looking at the in-depth numbers, they do have a much greater run differential than the Orioles, but I'll just throw that out there. The Rangers have a great run differential as well. But before we end here, there are 66 games left in the regular season. Can the Rays win 40 of those 66? Will they win 40 of those 66?
You know me too well. I was going to say, can they? Yeah, of course they can. Now, will they? Is a different answer. Will they win 40 games, which will lead them to 100? I think not. And not because they can't or anything like that. It's very difficult to win 100 games, people. It is very, very difficult to win 100 games.
Yes.
I had them pegged around 93, 94 at the beginning of the season. Go check the archives. I said it. Because of the run that they went on and how good the offense has been, I think I have them landing around 97 wins now.
Yeah.
100 is very difficult. I would be very, very happy, but I would not put the green Skittles on the 100 right now.
That's fair. Maybe it'd be a different case if Drew Rasmussen was coming back in the fold and Jeffrey Springs was coming back in the fold. And if they're going to do it, the rest of this month is really critical. And you alluded to it. The Rays do have the Orioles after the Rangers, but it doesn't get easier from there. You also have the fast rising Marlins, and then you go on the road to face Houston, and then go on the road again or continue on the road against the Yankees. So I guess the All-Star break came at an important time because they're going to need it for the rest of this month going forward. So go ahead.
And I was just saying, they did their part. They won this series against the Royals. You needed to do that. It would have been great, of course, to get out of there with a sweep. Evelyn didn't have it on Sunday. A couple errors as well didn't help matters. But man, I just want to know. I know people are kind of freaking out about the AL East lead, especially because of such an historic run in the beginning. But it's very difficult. Again, I want to stress that it's very, very difficult to go from pole to pole in the AL East. It's just very, very difficult. So if the Rays do come down, don't freak out. There's still plenty of baseball to play.
course, especially when the Rays will be acquiring Shohei Ohtani later on, as well as Aroldis Chapman, and just go on down the list of big names there. All right. Yeah. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.